Manchester City, given Claudio Echeverri encouragement, but clock is ticking, will benefit Manchester City midfielder. Claudio Echeverri has not had a great start to his year on loan at Leverkusen. Claudio Echeverri's move to Leverkusen has not started as he would have liked. The Manchester City youngster has managed just 82 minutes in what has been a disappointing campaign so far for both player and club. Leverkusen began horrendously, sacking new manager Erik ten Hag after just 3 games to get the post-Xabi Alonso era off to the worst possible start. New coach Kasper Hjulmand has steadied the ship, although Echeverri has not been able to work his way into the team. That is a far cry from how the signing looked in the summer when he was given the number 9 shirt and would have been pushing for the minutes that Florian Wirtz had filled in the team. Instead, he has had a bit-part role as other summer arrivals have been preferred. It is not the situation that City will have wanted for a teenager that made such an impression on Pep Guardiola that he was given his debut off the bench in the FA Cup final. There was lots of interest in the playmaker in the summer, so City were not short of options as they looked to get him the best possible move. The chaotic start to Leverkusen's season can't have gone down well, and nor can the continued presence of Echeverri on the fringes as the team has stabilised. However, comments from sporting director Simon Rolfes this week do give the player hope of a greater involvement. The team must first gain defensive stability in order to play dominant football, he told Kicker. The more we manage to do this, the more Claudio Echeverri and other attacking players will benefit from it. That is more positive, although the clock is ticking. City won't want to see Echeverri unused when Leverkusen visit the Etihad in the Champions League in November and may need to assess their options in January if things do not improve. The player himself also needs to think about what is best. City are planning for the long term with Echeverri, yet he has his eyes firmly fixed on a role for Argentina at the World Cup in summer. If the 19-year-old is to get what he wants, he needs to be playing more often in the months leading up to it, and that is more urgent than anything to do with City. Leverkusen have opened the door for change, but it needs to be pretty speedy to give Echeverri and City what they want from the next 9 months. Manchester City have Liverpool FC preference amid £280 million transfer frenzy. Plenty of eyes would be on the individual battles when Manchester City host Liverpool in a few weeks after a wild summer of spending. Manchester City host Liverpool in under a month in the Premier League, and attention will naturally fall on the galaxy of stars on the field. Erling Haaland commands the eye even when he isn't on the sort of obscene goal-scoring run he currently is. Yet he will have competition when the champions arrive. There were plenty of Newcastle fans who last season led the idea that Alexander Isak was in fact the best striker in the league. Funnily enough, they are all Team Haaland now. But those who still believe can see if Isak in the best team in the country can be more prolific. Currently the score is 9-0 to Haaland. Even more interesting will be Florian Wirtz. The German rejected City in summer to join Liverpool in what was seen to be a major coup for Arne Slot and his recruitment head Michael Edwards. Wirtz has had a horrible start to life at Anfield though, and there are no guarantees he will even start against City, having failed to influence games and being left out of the team for the derby. Blues would lap up any sidelining of Wirtz, especially if Ryan Cherki can get on the pitch. Cherki was a budget alternative, while Liverpool broke the British transfer record for Wirtz that they later broke again for Isak, and any hint that the Frenchman represents a better deal will be shouted loud. More interesting than any of that, though, is how the collectives look. Last season was exasperating for Blues for months, and their complete failure to compete home or away with Liverpool was one of many sore points. When a point at Arsenal last month meant City were 8 off leaders Liverpool after just 5 games, the gap again looked to be a chasm. However, successive defeats for Slot's men have coincided with 2 wins for City. The momentum has changed, and Pep Guardiola go into the next block of fixtures with the belief that there is plenty more to come from them. Win their games against Everton, Aston Villa and Bournemouth, and at the very least they can overtake Liverpool by beating them at the Etihad. Some scenarios could be even better. Having surprised many at Arsenal, including Mikel Arteta, Liverpool's visit next month represents a serious test for City to assess how far they can go on all fronts this season. The individual stars on the pitch may have a lot to do with the performance and the result, but Pep Guardiola will take more from the collective performance as he looks for City to wrestle the league title back from their Merseyside rivals. Manchester City breakout star is one moment away from unforgettable year. Nico O'Reilly has enjoyed a rapid rise at Manchester City, and he is now pushing for an England debut in a position he wasn't expecting to play in. At the start of this year, nobody outside of Manchester City had really heard of Nico O'Reilly. As 2025 dawned, he had 252 minutes of senior football under his belt, and none of it had come in the Premier League. 2 starts in forgettable Carabao Cup ties, a debut in the Community Shield, and 9 minutes off the bench in a Champions League rout against Sparta Prague were the sum total of the academy graduates' first team involvement. Even within the Etihad, you would have been hard-pressed to find anybody predicting the kind of year ahead for O'Reilly that he has enjoyed. A new 5-year contract signed and sealed, his status as a first-teamer is secure. Now, he is in the England squad too. But maybe that rapid rise shouldn't come as a surprise. After all, this is a player who had scouts from all of the Northwest's biggest clubs vying for his signature at the age of 8. Casting aside Liverpool and Everton's interest, O'Reilly was now making a decision between City and Manchester United. He had trained with all 4 clubs, but this was time to finally commit. He had begun playing aged 3 or 4 and would play for as many grassroots clubs as he could, but when he got to under 8s and under 9s, the Premier League competition for him was fierce. I chose City because the training was a lot better, he explained to the Man City podcast recently, and it's a decision that has worked out for both O'Reilly and his boyhood club. The 20-year-old is from a family of split allegiances in Manchester, but his mum and sister were Blues, and so is he. He is undoubtedly City's breakout star of 2025. O'Reilly came on for Erling Haaland in that Champions League fixture against Sparta Prague, and his future seemed to lie further up the pitch, but this might just be the year that changes everything. O'Reilly might still fancy himself as the attacking midfielder who used to prize open games in the academy, but now his country and his club could have other ideas. In the build-up to the 8-0 FA Cup third-round win against Salford City in January, Pep Guardiola told O'Reilly that he would play at left-back, and he has barely looked back since. His England call-up this week came after just 10 Premier League starts and confirmed that Thomas Tuchel currently sees him as a full-back. It has been hard, adapting, but things are starting to click together, and I'm starting to play the way I know I can play. But as I say, there still is a lot more to come, O'Reilly said, after signing a 5-year contract at the club last month. I grew up always being in the box, scoring goals, and it's what I enjoy doing. So whenever I get an opportunity, I'm going to try and take them. Obviously, the way we play at City, I'm allowed to go high, I'm allowed to go inside, and it's a bit freer out wide. So as long as someone is in those positions and the manager's happy, there are definitely chances for me to get in those positions. He entered the England squad after 7 successive starts at left-back, with Rayan Ait-Nouri out through injury, and there is little doubt that his presence on the pitch makes City a better team. O'Reilly can't recall playing left-back during his academy days, and the respected stats website Transfermarkt backs that up. He was the attacking midfielder with an eye for goal and an assist. Playing for the under-18s, he managed 21 goals and 17 assists in 46 appearances and captained City to that title in 2022/23, the spring of 2023. 2023 was when he started to make a name for himself, scoring an outrageous scorpion kick against Middlesbrough to win a game in the 95th minute before netting twice against Manchester United, including a 40-yard lob. It marked O'Reilly out as a preciously gifted number. 10, a position he played for England at age group level. So it's fair to say he never saw the transformation into a potential England left-back coming. But academy players have to be ready to take whatever first-team opportunities come their way. O'Reilly's real breakthrough moment might have been at Bournemouth at the end of March, when he came off the bench at half-time to turn an FA Cup quarter-final back in City's favour. At full-time, Guardiola and his teammates forced him to take the acclaim of the travelling fans. It was an unforgettable moment. I didn't even know what to think at the time. But yeah, I loved it. And obviously I hear all the chants and stuff, and it's such a good feeling, he said. I'm just a kid from Manchester, and I grew up here. So to play for my boyhood club, my dream club, and hear the fans give me support like that, it means so much. On the pre-season tour of the United States in 2024, Guardiola actually spoke about using O'Reilly to fill in for Rodri, praising his physicality. Wow, this guy is big. Pep Guardiola can end 17-month drought with Manchester City this weekend. Manchester City manager Pep Guardiola is set to welcome back a number of players this weekend after time on the sidelines. As good as the performance at Arsenal was, it seemed to unleash another issue for Manchester City. Already missing Ryan Ait-Nouri, Ryan Cherki, Omar Marmoush and Mateo Kovacic through injury, 3 intense games in a week in early September also saw Abdulkadir Kusanov and Rodri sidelined. Pep Guardiola knew that the Huddersfield match a few days later was the least important of those coming up, but he was still staring at the bleak reality of at least 4 of his stars being out until the middle of October, as well as more doubts over Rodri. Having had one season completely derailed by injury, City were in danger of a repeat performance. The longer the injury issues went on, the more City must have questioned themselves. There has been horrible luck involved in Rodri's problems, and the performance team would like to say the same for the rest of the squad, but there has to be scrutiny when so many players are sidelined for so long. Bernardo Silva put Kusanov's injury down to the team not having enough time to rest between games, and